Alright, so hello and welcome. Today we're doing the Eldritch Knight. This is technically a Redux edition, but not really because I'm doing it from basically scratch and making it even better, okay? So, we're going to talk about the Eldritch Knight for the fighter, okay? And we're going to go through everything possible. This is a massive guide, so strap in, guys. Alright, so for creation, for your Eldritch Knight, okay? There is, in my opinion, two different builds you can really do here, okay? You can use a frontliner or you can use an archer, okay? Now, the fighter is a specialized class, right? Most people say that you can also run a shield. This is technically true. However, as a fighter, your ability to output damage is much greater than other classes, and I will get into depth why. But just so you know, there's usually two builds. There's a frontliner, okay, and the standard array for the frontliner is going to be 8 strength, 10 dex, 15 con, 14 intelligence, 13 wisdom, 12 charisma, okay? And the reason for the low strength is because a frontline fighter, you can more than likely get a Gauntlets of Ogre Strength, which bumps your strength up to 19, okay? That means a +4 strength, okay? And then you can increase that even more by rare items for magic items that we'll get into later. But just so you know, your 8 strength turns into basically 19, and you can get an uncommon item to do that, okay? The archer build is a little different. Again, here for this one, you have 8 strength because you don't need it. You have 15 dex, okay? And then you're going to have 10 con, okay? The reason you have 10 con is there is a magic item that gives you 19 constitution. It's a rare item, though, and requires attunement. It's a bit harder to find in your campaigns, but trust me, you having 20 dex and 19 con is going to be worth it in the end, okay? You're an archer build, so you really shouldn't be on the front lines killing things that close. 14 intelligence, 13 wisdom, and 12 charisma, okay? Now, the intelligence we'll get back to and why it's there. But yeah, you could actually play around with the 14, 13, and 12 to whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. Up to you there. But the reason I bring this up is because you are a mad class, okay? What do I mean by mad? I mean multiple attribution points, okay? Basically, for an Eldritch Knight to work properly, quote unquote, as a class, you need to have high strength, high con, high intelligence. That's 3 different stats. That's 3, okay? That's almost impossible to do. This is why paladins are also a mad class, okay? However, Eldritch Knights benefit from the fact that they don't actually have to use offensive spells. There is a ton of buff spells, okay, that Eldritch Knights can use. And that's what this guide is basically. I'm telling you that your intelligence is going to be so low that you shouldn't be casting offensive spells until specific situations arise, okay? Not that you can't, but your buffing ability is so much better, okay? So you can leave your intelligence lower, and your buffing ability will be the same, basically, and you will be able to pump up your damage and your ability to take damage even more, okay? Which is basically what you should do as a fighter, okay? As I said, your magic should be used to buff you, and you and your allies, not for the offense. So don't be casting fireballs at the ass, okay? That's not what you're meant for. What are some races? Well, there's a lot of options, okay? I prefer the custom lineage, okay? You get a feat and dark vision, okay? Variant human also starts off with a feat, okay? These are important because feats are kind of rare. You do get more ASI improvements, okay, as a fighter, but these two, in my opinion, are the best. However, there are other options. You could play a bugbear, longer limbs, unless I changed it from legacy. But let's say you're using legacy, long limbs. There's a lot of other options you can do. Okay, I'm not saying that you can't do them. You just have to experiment. There's too many options here. But those two, custom lineage and variant human, in my opinion, are the best. Okay, the feat that you were going to pick up right for this one. Ideally, your first feat is either going to be sharpshooter or great weapon master. Okay, now these other feats down here are also important, okay? It depends on your build that you're going to go down, okay? But remember, Great Weapon Master and Sharpshooter, you have to take a -5 to hit, and you will get +10 damage, okay? This means your damage will be insane, okay? And we'll get into why that you need these 2 feats, or one of them. You only need one, whichever one you're going to use. Archery, range attacks, or you're going to use melee attacks, okay? Polearm Master lets you use a bonus action if you're using a polearm, okay? Because you can use Great Weapon Master and Polearm Master at the same time, okay? So that gets you another attack, and your bonus action is only a d4. However, you can take a -5 to add +10 damage to it, okay? Now you see how our damage output is increasing. Sentinel lets you basically, if you're the frontline fighter and someone hits your friend next to you, you can attack them as an AOP, okay? And that AOP can also use Great Weapon Master for an additional plus 10 damage. You can see how these abilities are going to start to stack, okay? Again, Warcaster, Lucky, Ritual Caster, Tough, Fighting Initiate, others, okay? Whatever feats you want, you can start off with. I'd recommend Sharpshooter or Great Weapon Master. For this example, for this character build that we have right now, we're going to be using the Strength, the Frontliner standard array that I have at the top, okay? And we're also going to be using Great Weapon Master as our starting feat, okay? So that's just know that is the example we're going to be using throughout, okay? Creation number 2. Okay, so this is a little bit more complicated, and it's not really talked about much. You are a 1/3 spellcaster, okay? Now, what does that mean? It means your spell progression is very, very slow, okay? It is the slowest you can possibly have in the game, okay? Basically, what does this mean? 3 levels in Fighter equals 1 level of a casting class, okay? So if you take 1 level of Wizard, you have 1 level of casting, okay? Casting class. If you take 3, it takes 3 levels of Fighter, of Eldritch Knight, to equal that. So 3 levels equals 1 level of Wizard, okay? This is why your ability to cast high-level spells is severely diminished, okay? Just remember this. You are a 1/3 spellcaster, okay? I can make a whole topic video on this if you guys want me to, but it's very complicated. Just know that you require 3 levels in Fighter to equal 1 level of Wizard or Sorcerer or whatever. Okay, so starting at level 1, you have access to a fighting style, okay? You have Archery, Great Weapon Fighting, Blind Fighting, Dueling. These are the options I would go with, okay? Now, if you're doing a ranged build, okay, you take Archery. Having the +2 to hit on every single range attack cannot be understated how valuable that is, okay? This will help counter your Sharpshooting ability, okay? You take a -5 to shoot Sharpshooter, right? And then your Archery is going to add +2 to that, so you're only at -3, okay? Very, very good. If you're not doing that, Great Weapon Master for the ability to reroll 1s and 2s on your heavy weapons is invaluable. Okay, especially if you're going to run around with a great sword instead of a polearm. You roll 2d6. If one of them is a 1 and one of them is a 3, you reroll the 1. It's very good. Okay, Blind Fighting. Blind Fighting is also very good. If you're going to play in a high-level campaign or you're starting off at high level, okay, Blind Fighting is invaluable. We can get into some spell combinations at higher levels that I'll talk about, but basically, if you have Blind Fighting and you have Darkness and you cast Darkness on an area, you can walk into that darkness and be able to fight as effectively as if you didn't, as if you weren't blind, okay? Because you have 10 feet you can actually see, and the enemy can't see you at all. Very good. And Dueling. Dueling is iffy. You're not really a sword and shield kind of class. You're not meant to really be a tank. It's kind of a paladin kind of thing because they can heal themselves. That's not you, okay? And you're going to be giving up your Sharpshooter and Great Weapon Master, which you really shouldn't do. So I just threw that in there. And also at level 1, you also get Second Wind. It's 1d10 plus your con mod, okay? It's a bonus action, and you get it back on a short rest. One of the best first level things you can possibly take, okay? This is why a lot of people multiclass into Fighter, or they take 1 level of Fighter, and then the rest is spellcasting, okay? And the reason for it is basically you get armor proficiencies and con proficiencies, and you have a fighting style that you can take for protection, and Second Wind, okay? Just know your Second Wind ability is a bonus action, and it comes back on a short rest. And 1d10 health plus your con mod, so 1d10 plus 5, very helpful, okay? And it doesn't level up with you, but it's always nice to have. Okay, so level 2, you have Action Surge, okay? Basically, what it allows you to do is take 1 additional action on your turn, okay? And you must finish a short or long rest before you can use it again, okay? And starting at 17th level, you're going to get it twice, but we're not talking about that right now. So from 2nd level all the way to 17th level, you basically have an Action Surge, which means you can basically take the attack action again, okay? So what this allows you to do is if you have extra attack, okay, this lets you take 4 attacks in 1 turn, okay? Or 6 attacks in 1 turn. Or you can drink a potion. Or you can do whatever else you need to do, okay? This is a very, very useful ability, and it can save your life. If you absolutely need to drop one of the enemies, you can Action Surge and take him down. At level 2, that means you get 2 attacks in a turn, which can dramatically help out the party and kill something you need dead, okay? And reduce the action economy. It's a very good life-saving ability, and it also comes back on a short rest, okay? Short rest is usually an hour. So you can you get your second win and action surge back very quickly as a fighter. These are your bread and butter. Okay. At level 3, you finally take Eldritch Knight. Okay. One of the abilities Eldritch Knight has is weapon bonding. Okay. Basically, you do a ritual. Okay, with one weapon over a course of an hour. It can be done on a short rest, basically. And once you have it, the weapon is bonded to you. Okay. Now this is important, especially at high levels. This actually does come up. You cannot be disarmed, okay, unless you are incapacitated, which means you're dead, okay, or knocked out real bad. If it's on the same plane of existence as you, right? If you're on the ethereal plane or on the elemental material plane, I don't know why I said all those. Material plane can basically always be summoned to you, okay, as a bonus action on your turn, causing it to teleport to your hand instantly, okay. Now this is very, very good, okay, and you can also have 2 weapons bonded at the same time. But only one of them, you can only summon one at a time with a bonus action. If you attempt to bond a third weapon, it breaks, blah, 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 okay? This is very valuable, okay? You basically have the ability to walk into any place disarmed and summon your ability back, okay? And summon your weapon back. This is very valuable, especially if your DM has a lot of magicry and you're disarmed a lot, okay? I do not believe it depends if anti-magic fields are going to work. Okay, it was very dependent on whether your DM is going to allow it or not. Okay, because technically this is magic, but it's also not because you're not casting a spell. You automatically have it. Okay, anti-magic fields work a little bit funny because they also disable magic items. It's going to be up to your DM on what he allows there. But just so you know, if you're ever disarmed, you can get out of an anti-magic field, get your weapon back in your hand, and kill things, okay? That's very valuable to have, especially at higher levels. And you also get cantrips and first-level spells, okay? So we're going to go through these. Booming Blade. Booming Blade basically lets you hit an enemy, okay? Then with a weapon attack, so you can take Great Weapon Master on this, okay? So you hit him, okay? Then you do additional damage from the Booming Blade, and then if that target moves willingly, okay, he takes additional damage. This is very good, okay, and it gets even better at higher levels. And we'll talk more about Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade later when we start getting special abilities for the Eldritch Knight, okay? Green Flame Blade is the opposite. Green Flame Blade lets you basically hit one enemy with your melee weapon attack, and you will then do additional damage to a second target within 5 feet of that creature, okay? So if you're fighting multiple enemies at the same time, which you might very well be, Gleaming Flame Blade might be better, okay? Just so you know, you only get 2 cantrips, so use them wisely. I'd either take Booming Blade or Green Flame Blade, not both. Then take Mage Hand, Message, or Minor Illusion. All these are good. There are many videos online of how to use Mage Hand. Message basically lets you talk to people, and Minor Illusion is very useful in situational cases, right? First level spells. So your first level spells, basically you get a few. I think that's like 3, okay? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so you get 3 known spells, but you have 2 casts, okay? What you should take: Shield, Absorb Elements, okay? These 2 are going to be your bread and butter, and they will save your life. Shield adds a +5 to your AC. So if you have plate armor, you add a +5 to your AC. That is 23 AC, okay, with no other upgrades to your armor. That is very high, and that lasts until you start your next turn, okay? This means that you can be fighting like 6 enemies, pop shield, and you'll survive, versus fighting 6 enemies, not having shield, and you'll die. Absorb Elements is the same thing, okay? You will reduce damage if you're getting attacked by spellcasters. Let's say he casts Fireball at you, okay? You can reduce the damage. You become resistant to that damage, okay? And it also has a special ability where you can do that damage back, but we're not talking about that. This Absorb Elements basically will save your life against spellcasters, okay? Your third spell is up to you. You can either take Long Strider, that's going to add 10 feet to your movement speed, okay? Very valuable. Find Familiar. You have a familiar now. I can't tell you how invaluable that is. He can scout. He can give you the help action in combat. He can do a variety of things for you, okay? Very useful spell. False Life. It gives you temporary HP, 1d4 plus your mod, okay? Very valuable. Having like additional 4 to 10 HP, very nice, and it's only a first level spell slot. And Silvery Barbs basically lets you, as a reaction, if you have a spellcaster in your party, you can cast Silvery Barbs as a reaction to a spellcaster that's going to apparently try to do a saving throw, and have them make disadvantage on it. This will help your spellcasters out, and it's very good as a allied, basically buff spell, right? Weapon Bond. Again, I've just gone over it. Very surprisingly useful, okay? Now let's go to level 4. Level 4, you get your first ASI increase. For our example of our character, we went with a frontliner, okay? So we're going to make our con as high as possible, okay? So our con was a 17 because of our +2 ASI that we have, but now it's a 19, okay? Or you could take another feat here. Up to you on what you want to do, right? I do the con, up to you on this, okay? Again, you now know first level spells, right? And then this is the chart from now. So you know an additional spell now, okay? Take Find Familiar, Silvery Barbs, Longstrider, okay? You now know 4 spells. And you can cast, you have an additional slot. Very good. 5th level, extra attack, okay? So, I'm going to say something controversial, but it's not really controversial. At 5th level, you are the worst fighting class everywhere, from basically everyone around you, okay? Why do I say this? Paladins get Smite, okay? They can stack their damage real high, and they have the same attack as you, okay? Barbarians, okay, have higher health than you, and they now have the same attacks as you, and they can rage, so they take less damage, okay? Name a class here that has extra attack at this level. They're going to have some other special abilities, okay? No, at lower levels, your fighter class is kind of one of the weakest ones, okay? But don't worry, you'll get a lot better. Trust me, you'll overpass all the other classes in terms of damage output. At level 6, you get another ASI, okay? It's also one of the benefits of being a fighter. You get another ASI, okay? My ASI here, I take 1 con, 1 wisdom, finish my thing out, okay? Make my wisdom a 14, right? And then make my con a 20. There you go, okay? Or you could take a feat here of the ones listed below. Any of them work. Bubble, Warcaster, Lucky, Ritual Caster, Tough, Fighting Initiate, everything works here. I'm assuming you have already taken your Sharpshooter or Great Weapon Master at this point, okay? At 7th level, you gain access to War Magic, and a whole bunch of cities are going to start changing, okay? So, from 5th level, you have the ability to do extra attack, okay? But you either give up to cast Booming Blade, basically, before 7th level, you have to give up your 2 attacks, okay? And if you have Great Weapon Master, Booming Blade isn't worth it, okay? However, Booming Blade becomes very worth it at level 7, okay? Because you basically have the ability to use your action to cast a cantrip, and you make 1 additional weapon attack as a bonus action, okay? Now, what this allows you to do is basically cast Booming Blade on a target, right? And because it is Booming Blade, right? You do 2d8 damage, right? Basically, your spell damage goes up on your Booming Blade, right? You do an extra 1d8 thunder damage and 2d6 more thunder damage if the target moves, okay? And you also do your weapon attack on top of that, which you can use for Great Weapon Master, okay? This is going to let you do an insane amount of damage with Booming Blade already. Then as a bonus action, you can attack again with Great Weapon Master and do an insane amount of damage, okay? Now, this will remain basically your stand 2 or how you will fight until level 11, okay? If you don't have Polearm Master, that is. If you have Polearm Master, you're going to take 2 attacks with your Great Weapon Master, and then you're going to bonus action attack with the back of the blade, okay? Because that's going to get you 3 attacks. If you don't have that, then it's fine. Booming Blade, and then 1 more attack as a bonus action works perfectly fine, okay? At level 7, you will also gain additional spell, okay? You'll know 1 more spell, and you can now cast 2nd level spells, okay? This is invaluable. This lets you cast Invisibility. I don't need to tell you how valuable casting Invisibility is. Not as useful in combat, but for outside of combat, Invisibility is amazing. Mirror Image, okay? Basically, Mirror Image gives you 3 duplicates, and simplified version, it makes the enemy have to attack the duplicates before you, okay? And a minimum of at least 1 time. And they can miss 2 or 3 attempts, okay? This gives you a big buff spell for you to use. Let the enemy attack, not you, right? Vortex Warp lets you teleport as a 2nd level spell, 90 feet. Amazing if you need to get out of danger. Darkness. Darkness, if you cast it at 2nd level and you have blind fighting, you can cast it at the enemy and then walk into that darkness, and now they can't see, but you can see, which means all of your attacks have advantage on them. Very valuable. Very, very valuable. And Misty Step. Misty Step lets you teleport with a bonus action 30 feet. Not as valuable, in my opinion, as a Vortex Warp, but it's a bonus action, so you can get out of danger and not use your action. So, now I'll go to level 8. Okay, so level 8. This is another thing. You get one more spell, right? Eldritch Knight is weird. Eldritch Knight, you start getting known spells up very quickly, and then it stops. And then it goes very quickly, and it stops. Level 8 and level 7 are just like that. It's weird. I don't know why, but there it is, okay? You get an additional spell. Take whatever you want, okay? From the spell list I have down here. You could also take additional spells. Up to you. You also get an ASI increase, okay? At this point, if you're either going to run a Polearm, you need to have Great Weapon Master and Polearm Master, and hopefully Sentinel, okay? Those 3 you should try to be having at this point, okay? Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, and you want to have Great Weapon Master and Mobile, that works. You want to have Great Weapon Master and Warcaster, that works. Great Weapon Master, Lucky, up to you, right? Or you can have Sharpshooter, Mobile, Sharpshooter, Warcaster, Sharpshooter, Lucky, and Ritual Casting, okay? Now, the reason to bring up Ritual Casting is basically because Ritual Casting lets you cast all of your spells that you know as a ritual. So, find Familiar, cast it as a ritual, basically doesn't burn your spell slot. That's the thing you can do. And you have a little book you can do this in, right? There are some valuable ritual spells, but then there are some that are not. You're going to have to weigh that on what you want, okay? Up to you there. At level 9, we get Indomitable, okay? Basically, it lets you reroll a saving throw that you fail, okay? You must do so. If you do so, you must see the new roll, and you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Basically, you get 1 reroll. Now, if you roll a 1 and you reroll this, you have a decent chance of improving your score. If you roll a 14 and still fail your saving throw, I wouldn't reroll it. This is a very useful ability in certain scenarios. Remember, it's a reroll. That is it. If you rolled a 15 and still didn't pass, I wouldn't burn your Indomitable, okay? Because you could roll even lower. It's up to you on that, though. But very good ability, okay? Just remember, it comes back on a long rest, not a short rest. At level 10, we get Eldritch Strike. Okay, so Eldritch Strike lets you make a weapon, basically cuts a creature's resistance. For all intents and purposes, the creature has disadvantage on the saving throw against the spell you make, okay? Now, I don't think this is very valuable. As I have already stated, Eldritch Knight, in my opinion, is a very good buff, buff caster, okay? They're not a damage-dealing caster type, okay? You can, in theory, spec it that way. At that point, Eldritch Strike might be useful to you. However, you have so low spell slots that you could cast a 2nd level spell and they'll probably fail it. But that's going to be up to you. You could also, as a 2nd level spell, because at level 10, you get an additional spell known. You could take like Cloud of Daggers, okay? And hit them, run away with the mobile feat, and then cast this next turn on them. Or use your action surge to cast this on them. There is a variety of things you can do here. I just don't value this ability very high. It's still a good ability. It's just not valued very high, okay? And as I said, you get 1 more ability to grab your last, to grab an additional spell known. Take it in whatever I have down here, or whatever else you want. And this is your last cantrip you will ever know for this class. Take what you want here. This is the last time you're going to be able to get one, an additional one, okay? Only 3 cantrips for this class, which is very low, okay? And then now at level 11, we're going up to be ridiculously damaging, okay? At level 11, okay, we get our extra attack again, okay? We can now make 3 attacks in a turn, okay? 4 attacks if you have Polearm Master, okay? And 5 attacks if you have Polearm Master and Sentinel, okay? You can see why we can get real high damage if we have Great Weapon Master at this point, okay? We get insane. And this is another thing, you grab another spell, okay? And then this is going to be it until like level 13, right? 1 more spell, take it in whatever you want. Level 12, okay. Level 12, you get an ASI. At this point, you need to have either Sharpshooter and a Mobile, or Lucky, or something, okay, for your range. If you're doing a melee build, you need to have Great Weapon Master, And Sentinel and Mobile. That's an option. Or you need to have a Great Weapon Master, Polearm, Sentinel. Okay. You could also have Mobile at this point too. So that could be, you could have 4 feats if you really wanted to at this point. But you need those. You basically need them at this point because now we're going to start getting into the prime meat of this build. Okay. At level 13, you get Indomitable twice. Okay. Very valuable, especially if at this high level we're going to be rolling against spellcasters. So being able to reroll your saving throws is very valuable. Okay. Level 13 is also the first time we get access to 3rd level spells. Okay. Now, this means we can cast haste on ourselves. If you have the feat Warcaster, you basically cannot be thrown off your damage type. Okay. If you have haste on and you have shield, you can run in there and do a hell of a lot of damage. Okay. Just remember that if your haste drops, because remember it's a concentration spell. If you drop it, you lose your turn. It's a high risk, high reward, but in my opinion, it's very worth it. Okay. For example, at level 13, you now have 3 attacks. With haste, that is 4, okay? That is 4 attacks. Now, if you have Polearm Master, that is 5 attacks. If you have Sentinel, you have 6 attacks. Polearm Master and Sentinel equals 6 attacks. This is insane, and it only gets better from here, okay? Some other 3rd level spells you need to consider. Counterspell. Now, you're not going to be great at counterspelling because either the enemy is going to throw a higher level spell, and you're going to have to roll your intelligence to roll an ability check to counterspell it. You may succeed, you may not, okay? You can use your Indomitable on that. Technically, it's a saving throw. Actually, no. You can't use your... Forget what I said. You can't use it there. But just to know that your counterspell is still valuable, it's just not as valuable as on a primary spellcaster, okay? But it can come in very handy in critical situations, okay? I would know the spell and talk with your party on what situations you would want to use that in, because remember... You only have 2 3rd level spell slots, okay? And I would recommend you do haste a lot, okay? Also fly, also tiny hut, also fireball. You can know those, and if you have ritual caster, you can cast tiny hut as a ritual, okay? Up to you if you want to do the fireball stuff, okay? At level 14, as I've gone over, at extra attack, basically you get 3 attacks, 4 attacks with haste, 5 attacks with Polearm Master, 6 attacks with Sentinel. Gone over it, right? Stupid. And also amazing at the same time. ASI. You get another ASI, you should have Great Weapon Master, Polearm Master, Sentinel at this point. I'd take Warcaster in that option, or you could take Mobile, Lucky, or you could take Ritual Caster for being able to do 3rd level spells with Ritual, right? There are some good ones. And you also get an additional spell Know, okay? Up to you on what you want to do with it. Here's the spell lists that I think you should have. Up to you on which one you take. Level 15, you have Arcane Charge, okay? At level 15, you gain the ability to teleport 30 feet to an unoccupied space that you see when you use your action surge, okay? You can teleport before or after the additional action, right? If you hit someone and you need to get out of there, this basically lets you have Misty Step and action surge at the same time. It's a semi-useful ability. It can get you out of things real bad, but it's only a one-time use until you get higher levels. So yeah, it's just a one-time use kind of thing to get you out of danger. At level 16, you get another ASI. At this point, you basically should have everything you want, okay? Great Weapon Master. At this point, this frontline build has Great Weapon Master, Polearm Master, Sentinel, Mobile, and Warcaster. So we're gaming out here, okay? And you get one more additional spell known. Take in whatever you want at this point, okay? Level 17, okay? This is where we start getting real good stuff. Level 17, you have Indomitable. You can have Indomitable 3 times. You get 3 saving throw things that you can fail and re-roll. Okay. And Action Surge, you get another Action Surge. Okay. This is the only other time you're going to get it. So you now have 2 Action Surges, which means you can use Arcane Charge twice. Okay. Very good overall. This is probably the peak of the class if there wasn't a level 20. Level 18, your Eldritch Knight. You gain you basically gain the ability to cast a spell and make 1 weapon attack as a bonus action. I can't tell you how shit this is at 18, because at 18 we're ending a world with 9th level spells, okay? Your ability to cast your little fireball thing is not going to do anyone anything when you can attack with once, okay? It's just bad overall. At 19, okay, so now this is where we get to the fun things, okay? We get one more ASI. This is your last ASI. Make it count, okay? Make your spells count. We've gone over first, second, and third level spells, okay? Level 4. This is the time you get your 4th level spell slot, okay? Make it count. You are going to either take Greater Invisibility, Dimension Door, Polymorph, Summon Aberration. You could take another 4th level spell slot, or another 4th level spell in whatever you want. I would just recommend those, okay? Greater Invisibility basically gets you, if they can't see you, it gets you advantage on all of your attacks, right? Dimension Door lets you teleport real far. Polymorph, I don't need to tell you how valuable that is. And Summon Aberration, okay? Unless you have an additional, you can summon elementals and all other sorts of things, okay? Just a summon lets you have the enemy focus on something else besides you, and that is very good, okay? And finally, at level 20, our capstone ability, we get attack 4 times. I will tell you right now, in the amount of time that I have played D&D, I have never gotten to level 20 once, okay? So, that being said, a 4th attack at level 20 is still amazing, okay? Let's put it into perspective. You get 4 attacks, 5 with haste, 5 with haste and polearm, 6 with polearm master haste, okay, and then 7 if you have if you have haste, polearm master, and your trigger your sentinel. That is 7 attacks that you can all make with great weapon master. Okay, very valuable, right? And you get 1 additional spell known, and that is it. You only have 1 4th level spell slot. Okay, make it count in whatever you need it to make. Okay. I don't even know what you're going to be fighting here. You're going to be fighting gods at level 20, so make it count. Just remember to get close or stay at range with your sharpshooter and make it count, right? So, now we're going to do an extra thing, okay? This is what I have found to be the best Eldritch Knight thing, okay? Because I play Eldritch Knights a lot. So, as I've gone over in the beginning, you are a 1/3 spellcaster, okay? Which means your spell progression is very low. However, there is a fix for this. If you take level 9 fighter, right, which is 3, 6, 9, right? 9 levels in fighter equals, stay with me, 3 levels in a spellcaster, okay? If you take 2 levels in wizard, that now equals 5, which means you get 3rd level spell slots, okay, at level 11. If you want them faster, or if your campaign is going to go past level 13, you always do this. Why? Wizard has a lot more spell slots, or not more spell slots, but has a lot more options for you to write down spells and do a whole bunch of other stuff that we'll get into. It's a very good combo, okay? And your casting level is now 5. You also know that spells, you don't know spells, right? At 3rd level, so you can't know haste. Like you can't. It's very weird, and I can make a whole topic on this video, but you don't know it, right? But you can cast. You can upcast to a 3rd level spell, right? So let's say you wanted to make, I don't know, like whatever spell insert here you want to make. You can make like Long Strider. You could cast it at 3rd level, but you don't know any 3rd level spell slots, okay? However, this comes with a caveat that if your DM gives you a way to know a 3rd level spell slot, you can take haste. If your DM gives you a spell scroll, you can cast it at 3rd level because you can cast it at 3rd level, okay? There's a lot of variety in what you can do there, okay? Some outside rules on D&D, if your DM allows it, some otherwise spell scrolls, right? And if you take the wizard early, right, after level 5, which is what I would recommend, right, you take 2 levels in wizard and you leave it there. And we're going to get into why, okay? If you do this, you do not have to take the ritual caster feat because you can ritual cast as a wizard, okay? Because you have anything that's in your spell book, you can ritual cast, okay? You know 3 more cantrips, okay? This is amazing because now you have more cantrips known to you than your Eldritch Knight, okay? So now you should have a total of 5. And you know an additional 6 1st level spell slots that you can have in your book, okay? And you can always write more spells in your book now, okay? You can write an unlimited number of spells, and you just have to know which ones are prepared, okay? Find Familiar, Detect, Magic, Tiny Hut, Identify, okay? All of these can be ritual cast from your book. This is amazing. This gives you a massive utility for your party at level 7, right? Because you still have your extra attack, and now you're just a very, very good utility. It depends on what campaign you're playing. You're playing a more combat-heavy one, you may want to stick with Fighter, but in every other scenario, which is basically most D&D games, this is way better, okay? Third, what do you take the 2 levels in? You take them in Wizard, obviously, and then you take the War Magic College, okay? Why do you do this? Arcane Deflection can save your life. Arcane Deflection, basically, if you're hit by weapon attack, you can use a reaction to add +2 AC. That's not amazing, but hey, it works, okay? But the main reason is you can add a +4 bonus to a saving throw, okay? Now, this is important. At level 9 fighter, you get Indomitable, okay? Let's say you roll a 1, okay? Let's say you roll a 1 on a Constitution saving throw, and your con mod and all of your stuff was a +9. So you have a 10, you fail. Let's say you re-roll it with Indomitable. You now roll a 5, which makes it a 15, okay? Overall. And that still is going to fail. You use Arcane Deflection, you have a 19 con, and you pass. Very, very, very good. And because when you use this, you can't cast spells or other cantrips until the end of your next turn, this hurts wizards a hell of a lot more than it's going to hurt you. Okay, you basically are unaffected by this, and the wizard is not. Okay, very, very valuable, can save your life. And then Tactical Wit is always useful. Basically, you add your initiative bonus, right, from your intelligence modifier. So if you went with a dex build, let's say you went with the archer, and you had a +5 dex, okay, and you have +5 to your initiative. And let's say you have a 14 intelligence, which is a +2 modifier. You now have a +7 to your initiative always. I can't tell you how valuable these things are for your Eldritch Knight, especially since it's only 2 levels in Wizard, okay? It's very, very good, and I would recommend it. Pretty much everyone does this, unless your campaign's ending real early or something like that, because this will scale a lot better. Magic items. Okay, so this is going to be the one for strength, right? I'll just go over all of them and what you should have. You have a strength build that's going to be using your Great Weapon Master. You need to get your Gauntlets of Ogre Power. Remember, our strength is 8 because we set it there, but we're going to bet that we can survive until we get Gauntlets of Ogre Strength. Once we have Gauntlets of Ogre Strength, our strength becomes a 19, which is a modifier of +4, which basically means we can actually start hitting things, okay? Sentinel Shield gives you advantage on initiative rolls. I don't need to tell you how invaluable that is. Gives you advantage on perception checks, which means you had roll twice, obviously, and also your passive perception goes up by +5. This is amazing, okay? Now, you don't actually need to be using the shield in combat. That is a myth. You just need to have it on you. If you have it on you, you have all of these abilities, okay? This is why I recommend pretty much every single one of my players have like, hey, get the Sentinel Shield. You don't have to use it, but the abilities you get out of just having it on you is amazing, okay? Periaptive Health, okay? Basically lets you stop diseases. If you're playing in a disease-heavy campaign, or lycanthropy is a thing, or whatever, this can save your life. It saved my life from lycanthropy, I'll tell you that, okay? And actually a bubonic plague disease. Goggles of Night. If you can't see in the darkness because of whatever class or race you picked, right? So let's say you took Variant Human. You can't see in the night. This lets you see in the night. If you take another class or another race that has 60 feet of dark vision, you add Goggles of Night on top of that, you can now see 120 feet dark vision. Very valuable, okay? Cloak of the Manta Ray. This lets you basically breathe and swim like a fish underwater. Again, none of these are burning your attunement slots besides the Gauntlets of Ogre Power. That one burns an attunement slot, everything else doesn't. Mithril Armor. You no longer have disadvantage on your stealth rolls, okay? Because of wearing plate armor. Very valuable, right? Combine this with Boots of Elvenkind, you now have advantage on your stealth rolls. Ring of Water Walking is the same, right? If you want to walk across water instead of swim through it like a manta ray, this works, right? Let's say it's going to be Arctic conditions, and if you actually use your manta ray cloak, you will die, whereas water walking will let you live. You just, have a coat on. And then +1 weapon, okay? For your rare items, you're going to want a Belt of Hill Giant Strength, okay? This is going to set your strength to 21, right? This means you have a +5 strength, which basically means is the maximum you can actually do for a mortal, okay? You can't actually increase past 20 normally, right? This lets you get 21. It's a very valuable item. Replace your Gauntlets of Ogre Power or Ogre Strength, right, with Belt of Hill Giant Strength. Get a Cloak of Displacement. Cloak of Displacement lets you basically have all the enemies that attack you have disadvantage until you get hit. Once you get hit, it drops, okay? Think of it like a Halo shield, okay? And if you play Halo, you have a shield layer, okay? Once that shield layer goes down, it goes to your health, right? And remember, this thing comes back at the start of your turn, always. It's very valuable. of the most best items you can have at a rare level, okay? Mantle spell resistance. You get advantage on saving throws against spells. I don't need to tell you how valuable that is, right? That requires an attunement slot, so now you have burned your 3 attunement slots as a fighter. Belt of Hildine Strength, Cloak of Displacement, Mantle of Spell Resistance. With those 3 rare items, you can fight pretty much all the way up to level 20 CRs, okay? And even past that, you are very hard to kill. You can also get Periapt of Proof against Poison. This one doesn't require attunement and makes you immune to poison damage, or resistant to poison damage, and immune to the poison condition, if I remember correctly. And I actually might make you immune to poison damage on top of that, right? I don't know exactly. I don't have it in front of me, but it's very damn valuable, okay? And it does not require attunement. And then get a +2 weapon for your rare. Very rare. You're going to want a belt of frost, or fire, frost, stone, whatever, okay? Each one has an increasing amount of strength modifier it modifies. 23, 25, 27, I think. Yeah, they're just very good, right? And then you're going to want a super weapon at this point, right? And then legendary items, Belt of Cloud, Giant Strength, and Storm. If I remember correctly, Cloud is 27 and Storm is 29 Strength modifier, okay? Which means you're hitting up there real hard. You have gone past the realms of mortal, right? You now have a +9 to hit on your weapon, and I'm assuming if you have legendary weapon, that means your proficiency is a +6, right? So a 9 plus 6 is 15 to hit, okay? Then you're going to add a +3 to your weapon, right? 18. That means 18 to hit, if I did the math correctly. 18 to hit, and you always take the option to reduce your chance to hit by -5, right? Which now is going to make your ability to hit things a +13, and you will always do 10 more damage. This is why you would get ridiculous as a fighter at higher levels, okay? If you're doing a dex build, let's say you're doing an archer build, okay? It changes a little bit, but not much, right? Uncommon. You're going to want braces of archery. It's an attunement item. It gives you +2 damage on all your rolls, and you get proficiency in longbows, but you already have it, so it doesn't matter for you. But the +2 damage does. Gloves of Thievery, add a +5 to your sleight of hand. Very valuable. Okay? I don't need to tell you how valuable that is. Again, take Sentinel Shield. Pripyat of Health, Goggles, Cloak of the Mantiore, Mithril Plate, or whatever armor you want, really. Boots of Elvenkind, Water Ring Walking, Ring of Water Walking, and +1 weapons, okay? Your rare items stay the same. Cloak of Displacement, Mantle of Spell Resistance, Periapt of Proof against Poison, right? So you can still keep your bracers at rare, okay? Because you only have a Cloak of Displacement and a Mantle of Spell Resistance, and your bracers. That's 3 items, right? 3 attunement slots that are taken up. And very rare. You want a +3 bow and +3 arrows. I can get into a whole discussion on why range combat is superior in D&D, but let's just take the example. Let's say your dex is 20, okay? So you have a +5 at level 20, and you have a +6 proficiency, right? So now your chance to hit is 11. Your bow is going to add permanently, okay, to be 14. And then let's say you're shooting +3 arrows. That's 18 to hit all the time. And then you take a -5 there, again, and then there's a +13 to hit always. And you do an insane amount of damage, right? And then legendary, you want an Oath Bow. Because come on, who doesn't want an Oath Bow, right? So that concludes the end of the Eldritch Knight guide, okay? If you guys found this helpful, leave a like. Leave some comments down below on what other things you want me to do for D&D. I'm always happy to make them. Otherwise, I have a D&D video on your screen. You should go click it out. Otherwise, I will see you people next time.